Hello and welcome back to Forge of Champions, the finals for the qualifying tournament, for the last qualifying tournament before we go through into the all-important grand finals, and one more spot remains at the European Masters representing the United Kingdom. Obviously, Enclave have their backs to the wall as Misfits have pushed them to match point in this game.
But as we said, it's going over the red side for Enclave. Can they deliver once again? They're going to have the counter pick, and we saw what Rifty did last time when he had that in his hands. 22-1 Darius.
Yeah, do you, so in this matchup,
I don't
now
think
it's the way around,
22-1
ban
Darius.
it, but you think you counter it. So you don't ban the gnaw.
You can ban it in ban phase 2, maybe.
Yeah, it's also an option, so quite a few options for them. We focused on how wide leaders pool is. Maybe you do look at banning out Rift, because leaders, I mean, obviously you've got to take away something from him. Like, I think the Yasuo's still an open option to Enclave because both Eren and Leader are capable of playing it. But the question is do Misfits just first pick the Yasuo if it's left?
I mean, the thing is, I think for Misfits, if they get something like the Aurelia again, and they put Rift onto something not like the Darius, let's say Rift was playing something like Gnaw, which again, it's a great split push, you provide pressure, but Aurelia can go head to head with the Gnaw and actually has kill pressure. The problem was with the Darius, you can't get a melee range from him because he's so strong, and it felt like no one could challenge him in the side lane. Leader was just playing on the other side of the map, and then when it got to team fights, he somehow managed to dominate them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good showing from from Misfits in that last game, but, you know, we've bring it up, we're going back and forth, and I hate to kind of, you know, be a broken record, sound like a broken record. Misfits' early game is still my concern. If this game goes smoother for them early, it's going to definitely be better. And I think if we do look at the last game, they got a double killer. They got, well, 3 kills earlier, double kill onto Leader at the beginning of the game. They stayed even. And those kind of, like, throws, so to speak, weren't so bad. Like, they lost a little bit off it, but, like, they weren't losing the whole game off it. When what we have been seeing is Enclave get a massive lead, then Misfits pull it back, and then Monkeys steal something with a smite because he's very good at doing that.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's a tennis match. It's back and forth, and this is the time when you break that serve in this pick and ban phase. I know I'm quoting you. Your eyes widened. I listen, you see?
Thank you. I think it's a good analogy because, again,
it is.
We can't talk about this as a whole series. It's been favored for the red side, for whichever team has it. It's in Enclave's corner, so it's one of those situations for Misfits where they are in such a good position. If they lose this game, they then go to their red side. Yeah. So they can go aggressive, they can play something spicy here. Maybe they bring out something like a blind picture for Shikari that might challenge what Rifty can pick. There's lots of variations you can do, and that might be enough to potentially break the serve. If not, you have your red side game 5 to fall back on.
The fact you stuttered when you said I thought you were going to say Shyvana. Like, you don't blind pick Shyvana.
I still think if you go ban phase 2, you ban Darius. Yeah. Then you can pick the Poppy quite safely. You can pick, I mean, you could even pick something like the Gangplank. Isn't as easy to counter as well.
Camille still available as well to Shikari.
Yeah, exactly.
Played at game 1. Still option for him, as we are going to go through to picks and bans. This is going to be one of the most intense picks and bans I think I've ever seen. As, you know, Enclave, they need to make sure they can get this.
The Tamkedge has been banned.
It's taken away. No surprises. Tada and Prosper still highly prioritizing that pick. It will not make its way through, I don't think, at all today. Even if we go to game 5, it's going to be fine.
You know what's the disappointing thing is I feel like Yasuo's not going to show his face at all in this series.
Neither does Zed.
He kind of shows his face. You can see a bit of it there.
Yeah, away, but Eren and Leader are both excellent Yasuo players. For anyone who isn't aware, Leader even had a montage on the front page of the Lolly You Cried. Eren has played it constantly throughout the Forge of Champions. And it's no surprise they don't want each other getting a hand. It could have been such an intense matchup, but we're still getting so much intensity from this.
Well, Rumble taken off the board, same with the Talia. Neither of these junglers going to get their hands on that. And Misfit, what are they going to ban as their last pick? Enclave, there's still quite a lot open. There's the Rise available. Akali hasn't been banned yet. Yeah, that's one of the major points, but I don't expect to see it make its way through. Is Prosper going to get his Braum once again? That's also another question for me here.
I mean, I think this is the issue, is that there are picks that have a high impact, like the Gragas, like the Braum. They are definitely making a massive performance in these games, but you can't justify banning them away because, I mean, Leader's taken like 18 bans alone.
You have the Gragas or Aurelia option here. Which is it? They went for Aurelia last time.
I think Aurelia again. It did work. I think the only problem was the Darius from Rift. The question is, what will they go for in return? You would expect it'd be the Gragas last time they picked up, and then I believe it was the...
I can't remember.
I believe they picked up the Rise.
We are seeing,
I think, yeah, it was Gragas Rise. You're right. They took the Rise, so they had a good matchup into Aurelia. Will they go for that again? That's the question. Well, they could go for Jhin Zhao mid. Why not?
I doubt we're going to see a Zinzao. They are going to lock that Ryzen, so again, they have a good matchup mid. And I think Flick's been very willing to actually sacrifice the Gragas and just go for the Sejuani and play for the team, just to make sure the leader gets himself his priority picks.
Yeah, I mean, why not? But this could be the situation where I would say change things up. Monkeys, once again, is going for the... Maybe.
I
We'll
believe.
see.
Likely the Gragas.
They are playing with us. It will be the Gragas. Actually, this is something I talked about as well. I talked about a hover even after saying don't talk about hovers.
Likely the Gragas.
I think this is now in a Flick's hand. Do you go for the Sejuani again? Yes, it synergizes well with Aurelia, but you could really pick something like the Nidalee, like the Graves, where you can farm effectively and provide so much pressure in return. And because we saw it consistently,
Haunting us.
he gets that pressure lead, he gets that CS lead, but he can't do much with Sejuani, but he's going to pick that anyway. He's playing it safe. He knows he has carries in the form of the mid and top. He's going to let them do their work.
4 games of Sejuani. Flick's probably having a great series
4 games
here.
That breaks your spirit.
Yeah.
That breaks your spirit right there.
That is a spirit breaker.
I will argue when you have the Aurelia mid, the reason it's so strong is because it's so easy to set up that stun. So more than the other games, I think it's exceptional here. Braum makes so much sense. Great into the Gragas, but
Ashe.
also it's what Prosper's played so much. Braum, Sejuani, great combo. But yeah, Ashe, right, again, that is exactly what I would expect them
Unless
to take.
they want to prioritize the Alistar here. And they're willing to ban away
but
the
I don't feel like Misfits will ban away the Alistar. They maybe made one ban, but I think if they go into this phase, they have to ban Darius now. Because they will
Darius
be giving Rift a counter pick. But then, alright, so Alistar gets picked up.
The Alistar. Yeah.
So, do they ban away the Ashe here and give over the Varus, or do they just accept what everyone's left open for
their
them?
second ban. They ban either Ashe or Varus, and they take the other one. I think they ban the Varus.
You are then keeping open the Camille and the Darius as well?
They leave the Camille.
I think Enclave could ban one.
Bad idea.
Enclave could ban one, but that forced Misfits to ban the others. I think for the first ban, I'll just test the waters and take out the top laners, try and set up a good situation for Rift. They actually end up going for the Varus, and this begs the question that Misfits will have to ban away the Ashe themselves. But I think, actually, I say that, but I think Chrisberg is happy to pay Jhin into the Ashe.
Yeah.
That'd be fine in this situation. And
Jhin
then
into Ashe isn't great, but with Braum protecting him, it could be alright.
Yeah.
And this is where you have to ban Nardarius, in my opinion.
This is the exact same ban they put down last time when they picked the Poppy blind into the Darius. So Nar's going to take it taken off the board. And I felt like the good ban here was the Darius and then just pick something like a Nar. I know like Nar has a good matchup into the Darius, but you just don't want to give it to Rift.
But Nar also
you don't want to risk it when you're on match point.
Nar also counters a lot of things as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe just leaving that open. It's going to be a Poppy
Get rid of the
ban.
Poppies, so if you ban the Darius here, it's not as bad.
I mean,
yeah, that makes
you
more
did
sense.
hard
You're
smash it
expecting
last
the
game,
Darius
but
ban.
sure, last time, but yeah.
But they're expecting the Darius ban here, which is why they banned the Poppy.
So it's a smart move.
Yeah.
Celtic sees what they're doing, playing 3D chess.
He's literally 6 steps ahead of me.
Yeah, he is so
I've been
far
all
ahead.
in the
I'm
pick
still
bans.
seeing the
I've got
Alistar lock-in.
I could see it.
Like the
Ashe
Matrix
most
for
likely
you.
here, and then they get the top lane counter pick anyway.
Yeah, so it's a favorable situation for them. I expect they might well go towards the Jhin again for the side of Misfits. Suit them last time they went for it. The question is, what will Chikari play in the top lane? What is he willing to blind? Poppy off the table. I think, but with the
Gangplank
Darius
isn't
available,
terrible.
Yeah, Gangplank's still open.
Gangplank's not an awful blind.
It's full AD though.
Given the Darius and Nar taken off the board, I think that's all right.
What about
I think as well is that if you go Gangplank, it's a decent answer to
okay.
Rise.
Now you're not full AD if you go the Gangplank too.
Yeah.
You can't. You do have that percentage HP damage coming out from the passive. I think if you go the Gangplank and you end up in a side and you have to Rise, you can't just root you and burst you. Oranges, you can run away.
The other option is you go the Kennen.
Yep. Is also an
It's a
option available.
possibility.
And then they have that Wombo combo as well, and then the Misfits maybe go, okay, you know what, we've been getting challenged, maybe we go for the Wombo team, and that will actually be the GP, so they've still got an element of team fight with the Cannon Barrage, and I expect to see the 1-3-1 come out of Misfits. They did very well in the last game pulling that off.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Rift go for a Camille and just try fight the Gangplank in a split.
Yeah. Oh my, no, don't.
That's an
not
old
talking
school
about Hovers.
counter, but Riven has
Yeah,
not been
that's
played
not
in a
gonna
long
happen.
time.
Don't talk about Hovers.
Yes,
Let's
I know, but
focus on-
it's just so funny.
You could even potentially
love
play
it.
something like, yeah,
It's
if
the
Camille
Camille.
comes out. I mean, I hate they play with us like that. They play with a heart, but
It's
we do
so
see the Camille come
predictable.
out.
It's just
Yeah.
You just haven't been doing this for long enough, mate, to know that people play with your heart like this all the time.
yeah.
Although a while back, I remember back when you were still a pro player, Bulldog played.
Oh, all the way back then.
It was Bulldog played
Pro player.
Riven mid into Kassadin back when Kassadin was really strong because Riven has a really good matchup. And when they were hovering it, in my head I was like, that's not going to happen. And
Yeah.
they locked it in.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, okay, this is going to happen. And it did well.
Yeah.
It's not actually relevant in this game at all, though. So we'll talk about this current game.
It was a common counter to Gangplank, but Camille, for similar reasons, because you could just cut down that distance, lock Gangplank into having to fight you in your zone.
I mean, that's the thing, yeah, the CC
and it's less skill matchup as well. Like, Riven is obviously so high skill cap. Camille's definitely marginally easier. I'd say quite a lot easier.
I would say that the lane can be easier as Riven, because you have more things to dodge the barrel combos with.
Yep.
But certainly Camille later on, so much easier.
And I think that's the thing, is that obviously Gangplank's asset is that he can use those oranges to cleanse to get away. You can't use that against Hextech Ultimatum. But I have to say, I think Misfits have drafted a lot better. We said this was their opportunity to break the serve. They now have a situation where, you know, the Gangplank and Irelia are a great 1-3-1. I think they can handle Enclave's side pretty well. If they manage to get to that mid game, they manage to bring things back around, they might be able to get a lead here.
And refocusing as well. Last time they were up against the Rise, it was the late game that really crippled them. You're now dealing with Kai'Sa, Irelia, Gangplank.
Yeah.
That is a mass amount of AoE that will one-shot pretty much anyone in the late game.
And that's the thing as well, by picking this Kai'Sa, they're no longer a full AD composition. Like, Gragas can't just itemize armor, Camille can't just itemize armor, because they will get shredded by this Kai'Sa. I think this is a smart draft coming out from Misfits. Credit to their coach Zen, who obviously is a new addition. Big factor in them coming back together.
New edition / returning edition.
Returning edition.
He's a new addition to the current version of the Misfits Academy, but if anyone who hasn't been following UK Scene or Misfits Academy as a team, he was the coach but got them their win at the ESL Premiership in the last kind of major UK tournament.
And that's him and Lighter effectively just dragged them out of the pit they dug themselves into. Between the two, Leader and Zen even, they just kind of dragged them right back up and have had a really good performance. Ever since that Diabolus series, it has been Misfits hard-hitting.
Yeah, they've been definitely on the rise, but another team on the rise is also this Enclave roster. You know, we can't sell
I'm really hoping you did that on purpose.
I didn't, but I realized what I did.
You should have just said that you did.
Yeah.
Nah,
Claim it, dude.
I feel like, okay, I did it on purpose.
Smart man, right there.
You know, Enclave been on the Ash recently. You know, they've been getting better as they've been playing more and more tournaments. They won the third qualifying tournament. They've locked themselves a spot at the European Masters. This is about mental. This is about momentum. This is about Enclave making sure that they make it through at least the play-in stage, because they're guaranteed at least play-ins. If they win the grand finals in September, they also get themselves into the group stage.
I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. I was slightly worried going into this. I was like, right, this doesn't affect seeding. Maybe these teams won't take this completely seriously. Maybe they won't want to show too many strategies. But these teams are out for blood. It's about pride. Yes, there's a bit more money coming out from the win, but that's not what this is about. You can see the pride, the passion that goes in this game, and it's just a joy to watch.
This whole series has been a joy to watch. It honestly has. I think the whole playoffs for qualifying tournament 4, we had incredible games with Wind and Rain and XL yesterday as well, being in this run-up. And then, you know, Enclave and Misfits were the two teams who made it through, beating their counterparts 2-1. We went all the way to all 6 games yesterday. And today we still have the potential for this to go all the way to 5.
Yeah, this could be a long day, and honestly, I'm looking forward to it. We've had heated matchups so far. It's only 3 games in.
Yeah.
About to hit our 4th. Can Misfits break the serve? Can they break the red side winning streak? That is a question.
Can they prove me right? I predicted 3-1. I thought they might throw to Enclave. They did with the... I honestly think that Poppy into Darius kind of threw it from there. Playing poorly into it as well didn't help.
Yeah, because they had some decent team fights in that game as well. So it was like, if the Darius wasn't like 15-1, maybe that game would have been a little different.
He ended the game with literally 22 kills.
Yeah.
It was 22-1, and it's like, I think he was actually like 22-1, and that he had
22-1, and I don't think his GA was popped.
No, but I think his assist was extremely low. His assist was like very, very, very low.
I think it was like 22-1-1.
I think it might be every time he was in a team fight, he got the kill because you just dunked them.
Yeah. I mean, great game. Rift isn't on that Darius.
Yeah, let's pull it right back to that's why they banned it. That's why they banned it. That's why we expected the ban coming in as well. They got rid of the Nardarius. It reduced his counter options.
Yeah.
And it gave the Gangplank much safer options to be picked.
So what are our lanes to watch here? What do we expect?
Top lane, mid lane. It's got to be.
Once again, I think the big thing is, though, what the junglers do, because we talked about how Monkeys was making more of an impact in the early game. He has to now, because it's not a situation where they have the advantages top and mid. You have to give them over. If the Camille is behind the Gangplank, it doesn't matter if you Hextech Ultimatum, you're trapped in there with him. And in the mid lane, we've seen what happens if an Irelia gets ahead of a Rise. It's not pretty.
Not pretty at all, and this time there isn't going to be a Darius answer out. This time Rift is on the Camille. Still has the ability to 1v1 the Irelia. That is something to be keeping note. It's not like he's on a tank. He's still going to be a nuisance, a threat potentially to the side of Misfits. And it's going to be very down to these laning phases. And like you said, it's going to be down to how the junglers are playing.
What I will say is if Leader is a similar game to the last time he's on Aurelia, that Camille will not be able to 1v1 it. It's not the same as Darius, where you have a lot of inbuilt tankiness that you just sit on top of Aurelia with.
And sustain with the Q.
Yeah, I mean, if Aurelia lands a stun onto a Camille, she can just shred her instantly.
Yeah, not fun.
No.
Not pretty
I
at
think
all.
the thing is that the flexibility comes out because Gangplank can do well into the Rise as well. There's not much threat as getting rooted and bursted down. Aurelia can do well into the Camille. It might be a big game of cat and mouse, so they're trying to send different lanes in different areas and get the right matchups. But you saw that I think Misfits were excellent at that. When Leader was up against the Darius, he decided to avoid him as much as possible. And despite the fact that there was this massive hulking raid boss, he was able to push advantages on the other side of the map.
Well, the reigning champions trying to get themselves a 3-1 victory over Enclave. And Enclave currently top of the standings in Forge of Champions. Want to continue their winning streak. Want to continue being the best team in the UK. And it's going to come down to this as Enclave need to find a win here. Otherwise, they will be losing these grand finals. And they will have to be going into the playoffs feeling a little bit more, a little less confident.
And on the other side, you have Misfits who are looking to prove themselves. They have not had impressive showings before this qualifying tournament, have now shown up completely revitalized by the new people joining them, and now they're looking to put their mark on, hey guys, we're back to being champions.
I mean, that's the thing as well, is that the difference between first seed and third seed isn't going to make a massive amount. You still expect that both these teams will be able to get through the first round, but then it's the fact that having this mentality of we are the strongest team. We faced up against Enclave, the #1 seed. We beat them. We'd already beaten XL. Misfits would have so much confidence, and that's why Enclave need to bounce back. Because at least if this series goes to a 3-2, you can argue red side was the factor. But if Misfits manage to win this next game and break the serve, it's going to be so disheartening for the Enclave side.
I think also you've got to keep in mind that this is a potential for the actual finals as well.
Very much
and,
so, yeah.
You know, both of these teams want to make sure that they have that kind of mentality. You know, they know they've done it before. When we spoke to Prosper yesterday as well, he said one of the major stumbling blocks, one of the major things they had to really get their mental right for was their game against Diabolus that set them up to get into these finals, was because Diabolus were the team that beat them in qualifying tournament 1, and they were the ones that knocked them out.
And that's the thing, again, yeah, if Misfits beat Enclave or Enclave beat Misfits, they're going to go to the grand finals thinking, wow, these guys are better than us, we have to step up to beat them, whereas no team is going to rest on these laurels. I know these players, I know them well, they're veterans, they will never go into the playoffs thinking, oh, we're going to win it. But if you go in with that game lead,
Junglers meeting in the top river.
Junglers have found each other. Rift's running a little bit low. Shikari the same for him, but Shikari has the way of pushing into him, so with that Afflict is going to have to run away. He did at least secure himself the Scuttle Crab.
The one situation where Monkus lose out on the Smite, maybe he's just like, yeah, you take the Crab, I'll take your Baron.
Starting it off.
Actually, instantly barreling down. Afflict might try and take the second Scuttle Crab as well.
He's actually going to note an Infernal Dragon on the bot side of the map. So this is going to be something that definitely, when we talked about the split push advantages in the late.
Shikari actually might just flash forward. Can't quite find himself the vision to get the Q off onto Rift, and Rift just healing up with his corrupting potion will be a-okay.
I think he missed that cannon.
I would argue that that is actually a good trade. Okay, that's not a good trade. I would argue that Rift is happy with that because Camille has that extra mobility. Gangplank might actually be in some trouble now without his flash. I mean, yes, he has his oranges, but a Predator Gragas doesn't really care. He will get up in your face. I think the one saving grace is that Shikari is in a tower. I don't think he's going to get ganked anytime soon, but if he does push out, that's where things can get a bit risky.
Yeah, Shikari farming underneath his turret is down a little bit in CS and taking a lot of damage from these tactical sweeps by Rift. Looks like Enclave in this bot side, playing a little bit further back now that they've got the melee support. Haven't got that range support like they did on the Morgana. The shove isn't quite there.
Something to note, I believe last time Leader played a Rally who went Conqueror. He has now gone press the attack, which obviously is going to add more burst, and potentially might be for 1v1 in the squishy champions in the Camille and the Rise.
I think this also comes down to the fact that I don't think he's looking to fight up against the Alistair.
Yeah.
Or the Gragas even later on. I think it's just you have the burst with press the attack to take anyone else out. And realistically, you're just throwing down the CC on those guys and you'll need help to kill them anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Better with dealing with the squishies. The damage proc when you get to the autos is huge. And Hado doing good to zone there.
It could actually get stunned up and actually locked down. That's a lot of passive abilities that can pop and really hurt him. So he does have to keep that in mind, of obviously, when the Void Ooze does go pop from a Kai'Sa.
Monk is near bot lane.
But like you said, Monk is near bot lane.
Ping's coming out, they're going to go for it.
Boost. He's already used the Predator. Haddo goes in with the flash headbutt, pulverized onto Prospect. Prospect stand behind me to his ADC, who's going to get stunned up near his turret. And Misfits make their escape.
That was played impeccably, but Rift is going to have to do a thing top.
He's got 3 members to go on him as well. He's going to look for the stun. He actually might be turning around. Rift with first blood. And the tower shots are not going to reset onto Shikari. Rift gets 1.
I mean, both sides getting ganked across the board, make big plays to turn it around. But fortunately for Enclave, they made a play on the bot side of the map, and they are going to be rewarded with this Infernal Dragon. No one's going to be there to contest it, and that is a big prize to take away.
Yeah, will be the return, at least an Infernal Drake over to Enclave as well with first blood. This is that early game thing.
Yep, they've been winning it. They looked a bit shaky last game, but they're turning it around now.
Haddo needs to be careful. He's all right. There we go. Monkeys gets the smite this time.
I believe next Dragon's going to be another Infernal.
Let's have a little look at that play
everything in this, so I'm going to leave you guys to watch it again.
Oh, so this is the top lane play, and you can see Rift so solid here. They need to get the stacked up passive from Inflict, but they actually wait for Leader to get there. And it's just good moves from him. The long range stun is actually sidestep, doesn't connect, and then he gets the CC down onto Afflict, who has aggro. The other two just have to run away. Great play from Rift coming out there.
I think Misfits were lucky that the tower aggro didn't reset onto Shikari or Prosper, because I'm sorry, Shikari or Leader, because that actually could have mean Rift maybe chasing for a little bit more.
Yeah,
bye Celtic.
Bye. Could have been a pretty bad situation there if Rift got more kills, but he does have this red buff now. Is in the bush with a red buff, playing aggressive onto Shikari, and he has to play with some respect now. 12 CS lead coming out. Gotta be careful.
Does have to be a little bit careful. 2 long swords. Hasn't actually based and spent the gold yet from that first blood for Rift, so he's still sitting on quite a lot of that gold. Gonna want to build towards his Tiamat as soon as possible. Wants to look to try and outshove Shikari, who will need his Triforce to actually really win the shove once the the Tiamat comes through onto Rift.
Look at the top lane. I see that Gragas walking up.
Yeah, he's Pop Predator, I believe, as well. No, he hasn't. It's on cooldown still. Shikari actually used his ulti. I think actually Monkeys did use Predator.
Yeah, it's misleading because there's a rune you actually take which reduces the cooldown of items. It's in the domination tree. So whenever he pops it, it looks like it's already been coming off cooldown for a while, but it's actually just the cooldown reduction affects the graphic for the spectator. But yeah, he popped Predator, didn't decide to go for the dive, didn't have the confidence, and didn't know where the enemy team were. But if you actually see, Misfits have now made a move in return, trying to get control on this blue side of the jungle. They will pick up that blue buff and then just able to back off.
Well, Leader hanging around with Monkeys. Keep a fixed health bar in mind. He's quite low, but can obviously set up the Vanguard's edge and the stun by Afflict. Leader maybe hops forward one more time. Monkeys gets healed up, and he gets himself 1, but the turret comes through, and Aaron trades, uses the Realm Warp to chase onto Afflict, but in comes Prosper and the rest of the team. Prosper hops forward with a stand behind me, does not commit for the kill.
Yeah, and Aaron is so glad he didn't take that Realm Warp. That could have been very bad with the move from Misfits. Leader and Afflict wasn't the blue buff they took away from Enclave. I was wrong about that, but they looked for the aggressive pick onto Monkeys. They find it as they did early in the series. It's there, and an overdive from Leader ends up rewarding with a kill.
Ash Arrow into headbutt, pulverized Prosper with a fantastic wall to make sure Chrisberg loses as little health as possible, and now a concussive blow stacks up, and Prosper and Chrisberg once again disengage from the Enclave attempt.
I mean, honestly, you take that as Misfits. You're down sums, you don't have your ultimate yet on the Kai'Sa, and yet, with the ultimate use from Enclave, you managed to get out. Good moves from them just to back off safely. And it's once again, this bot lane for Misfits are great at absorbing pressure. They absorbed the gank earlier. They absorbed that play there. They're doing excellent so far.
Mendy and Haddo stepping forward once again. Does need to be a little bit careful. Chrisberg does have ulti this time, and their ults are down. That's going to be a Glacial Fissure. Haddo gets locked up. Chrisberg can always go for that chase if he wants, and Haddo is burning down low. A great killer instinct forward, and now they're turning it onto Bendy. Will not get stunned up by the concussive blows as he flashes away to safety.
But a big kill reward coming out, and this is a problem. You invest so much from Bendy, you use the arrow, you overcommit, and it's turned around by Misfits once their ultimates are available. And again, we said the lanes to watch with the mid and top lane, but if things start going a bit out of control in this bot, that could be a big problem, especially when it's a Kai'Sa who scales so well.
Scales very well, and this is still an even gold game for the moment, but with first turret blood potentially gifted over to Chrisberg as well, this could actually be a great lead, although Enclave actually trying to match the push. This is a base race. Well, sorry, this is a tower race. Who gets first turret blood? It looks like it's going to be Enclave, as they have dropped it down and the response comes through to defend the bot lane as well. Shikari makes his face known in the mid lane as well, and looks like they're trying to get 2 turrets for 1.
Yeah, and putting the pressure down mid. We are going to see a replay just briefly.
It's obviously going to be this attempt onto Chrisberg. Oh, sorry, this is actually the kill onto Haddo.
Yeah, good sidestep coming out, but this is a problem with the killer instinct. There's no way Haddo is getting out. Starts to walk away, but Chrisberg easily follows up, and then manages to get the passive on Bendy as well, and the flash has to get burned. Just good play from Prosper and Chrisberg. And this is the thing, is that if you have the Braum, you don't even necessarily have to land the Winter's Bite to find the CC, to find the kills. And when the Alistair is level 5 and not 6, very vulnerable. We'll see Shikari head up to this mid lane just to clear the waves out, and you can see how far he is behind compared to the Rift. Massive disadvantage from that early game kill, and now 40 CS down. This can really become a problem for the 1-3-1. We said both teams have the potential to set it up, but you need the lead if you want it to work.
Shikari just going to back off, was holding on to the mid lane for his team here. Didn't see how much damage they actually were able to get onto the turret in the mid lane. I think it lost about half of its HP to the shove, but it was instantly thwarted by Enclave as they stepped forward. And first Drake spawning up will be that Infernal Drake. Sorry, second Drake will be spawning up with that Infernal Drake, which is going to be a really big point of contention for the side of Enclave. I mean, as they've already got one.
The mistake they've made is that Bendy was on the top side of the map, and I think they might actually just be forfeiting it. They already have an Infernal themselves. They want to play to the top side. They've moved Ashe there. And they're okay with him, but Leader actually in massive trouble here.
That's it going to be the ulti thrown down, stuns him in place, looking to try and turn it around, throws out the Vanguard's edge. Rift is going low, and Leader with the 1v1. That was a turn. This is a flick now looking for a kill onto Haddo. 2 kills gifted over to Enclave, and a Realm Warp saves Erin's life.
And just as I was saying, I felt Misfits were willing to give away, Enclave were willing to give away the Infernal Drake. Misfits say, no, we're not taking your freebie. We're taking the Rift Herald, and we're taking the Dragon on top of that. They're going to head down, and I don't think there's anything Enclave can really do to stop them. Although, Chrisberg might be overstepping here.
Yeah, I was about to say, you can chunk Chrisberg. That's always an option.
Yeah, that works. What a 1v1, though. I mean, it felt so close between Leader and Rift, and just the damage was there, the sustained damage from Leader. And I guess press the attack really made the difference there. Rift Herald going to come out, and this might provide enough pressure for them to go for this Infernal Dragon, but looks like it's going to back off, and this is a problem. If you give over a second Infernal Dragon to Enclave, scaling really becomes an issue. Yes, that last play was successful for Misfits, but they haven't had time to reset.
Yeah, Rift's actually having to try and catch this wave in the bot lane. So they are actually down a member, and it looks like the damage is still relatively low from the side of Enclave, so they're going to be forced back by Misfits, who reset the Dragon, and now they're going to turn their attention towards it.
Looks like they might give up a lot of pressure here. Monkeys might go for the steal.
Oh, Monkeys. Oh, explosive cast just isn't enough. 1 Infernal Drake apiece and 2k lead over to the side of Misfits.
I mean, this was great for Misfits. It felt like Enclave were willing to give over that Infernal Dragon. The AD carry was very weak. They'd committed them to the top side, and they started up the Rift Herald. They're like, look, we already have 1 Infernal Dragon. I don't mind trading 1 over. But then Misfits don't let that happen. Leader ends up outplaying Rift in the 1v1. But then on the other side of the map, a great engage not only turns around and gets some kills, well, a kill onto Monkeys, but they also managed to pick up the Rift Herald. It's just Misfits saying, look, yes, you struggled in the early game, early in the season, in the series, but not anymore. We are here to win.
What is next for the side of Misfits? It looks like they're starting to try and put some pressure up in the mid lane still. Got 2 members down bot. Shikari was heading top side, but with the dual lane of Enclave there, it's still a little scary. You can orange one thing, but you can't orange the rest.
I mean, that's the issue, and you can't orange a Hextech ultimate if that does come towards you. Got to be a little careful on that gangplank, but Misfits still have the pressure. Rift having to play shoved in, and this is the problem, is look at where Bendy is. Top side of the map. Enclave know he's behind. They're like, look, we just need you to pick a farm. We need you to be relevant later on.
Oh, Afflict actually throws down the Glacial Prison. Vanguard's edge is there. In comes the Killer Instinct, and down go 2 of Enclave. A double kill gifted over to Leader, and this will be the turret soon to follow.
And it looks like Misfits are not giving Bendy the space to farm up. They are putting more and more pressure on. Afflict once again playing the Sejuani, but putting so much work down into this early game.
Once again, this is going to be an incredibly early, incredibly fast tower falling down near the inhibitor, but it looks like for now, Misfits will be forced off. They need to go answer the big wave crashing into their top side.
Having some difficulty with our words. Quite hard.
Yeah, we definitely are.
But we'll get it back together. Got to keep casting this. I mean, honestly, though, we talked about how this was a favored red side for Enclave. I feel like a solid draft for Misfits have put them in a good position, but that doesn't change the early game. The draft hasn't given them the tools just to completely dominate it, but they have anyway. They found great windows there, and they managed to pull through. And just credit them, because throughout the series, they have struggled massively in the early, but this game looks more in their favor, and this is worrying for Enclave, because this is match point for Misfits.
Hey there, I'm subbing in.
Hey.
Just run into some small mic issues, but we'll be back shortly. I'm sure Jake will be rejoining you. But
yeah. Well, I guess do you want to do the play-by-play, or should I do the play-by-play when it comes up?
I got play-by-play.
Okay, you got play.
I'm all hypey up.
I'm
This
ready.
has been a really interesting game. I do like your points, though. I do agree that certainly Misfits have looked a lot stronger than they have in the rest of the series.
This is good because we have two colors now. We can actually have insightful conversation with each other.
Are you saying Hitbrain isn't insightful? I believe he has a lot of insight to offer, just not related to League of Legends.
He's not in the room, so I can say that. But if you were in, I would say no. Anyway, one of the big things is that Rift still has that lead in the bot lane. You will see Shikari head out to answer, but look at the item differential. You have that whole Tiamat advantage onto Rift, despite the fact there was a global objective lead to Misfits. And that might be where Enclave find a route back into the game. If Rift can find some kills onto the Gangplank, try and punish him.
I mean, that's an option, but you also have to look at this 4-1 Aurelia you have to deal with. You have a lot of instant single target lockdown. Maybe that's the way you want to go as well. Yeah. However, you also have a 2-0-2 Kai'Sa to deal with.
Yeah, and the problem is as well, there's a cleanse available for this Merc Treads Aurelia. Not a fun time. You will see Misfits continuing to put on this pressure.
Here it is. That's going to be the ult forward. They're going for it with a flick. A lot of things have missed so far, though, and now it is Leader in the back line, too. Aaron has nowhere to go, and Leader following up, too. It's Hado who's locked up next. They're going to try go forward, but it's going golden for Hado. Can they continue forward? No, they can't quite get him. And Misfits disengage, but they still win the fight.
And just surviving from Hado, but so many lost across the board. Well, I mean, it was just Aaron, but the pressure is there. You see Misfits are taking over this early game. Thank you for the play-by-play.
Great play-by-play. Fortunately, my mic has returned and I am all back and good.
Yep, nice to see you again.
Thank you, mate.
Had to go sort out those issues, but back with the usual roster, and now a 5k gold lead for Misfits. Misfits still being put under pressure. You didn't miss much. We are going to get a quick replay, so you will see what happened.
Yeah, seeming as I was out of the room trying to fix my microphone. So let's see actually what happened here. You can explain this to me.
Yeah, so this is actually great moves from Aaron to sidestep as much as he can, but the issue is, why was he there in the first place? You know Misfits are going to try and pressure this turret. They were overcommitting to defend it, and Leader just provides so much pressure here. Honestly, Enclave were lucky for Hado to get out. Well, not lucky. It was a good stopwatch from him. But either way, one death is a luxury at this point from Enclave when you overcommit that hard. You know that outer tower is going to stick out. You can't defend it. Better decision would just be to give it up and look for advantages elsewhere.
And they're down 5k to their counterparts at the moment. Misfits looking super, super strong at the moment. We do obviously still have a little bit of time before Baron Nash is going to come back up, but look at the third Drake in this game. It's going to be another Infernal. And if you give that over to the team with the Kai'Sa, with the Aurelia, with the scaling advantage, that is going to feel really bad, especially knowing your back's to the wall. You are playing at match point right now.
I mean, this is the worst case scenario. Honestly, if there's ever an Infernal in the game when you get the first one, you hope for no other Infernals so the other team can't equalize. The situation that happened that the first one was an Infernal, Enclave got it early. Misfits equalized, like whatever. But the next one is another Infernal Dragon. If Misfits get this as well, it gives them a massive scaling advantage where they already have one. And the thing is, Enclave aren't in a position right now where they want to contest that. They're 5k goal behind. You can't risk the entire game on an Infernal Dragon. And it's such a sad position to be in. The thing you have to try and fight for is the Baron Nash in a minute. Looks like they're going to head over to the Infernal. I'm not sure they're going to be able to do very much, and they might just have to give this one over. I think the better play, honestly, would be move towards Baron. Try and get some vision there for when it spawns. You know Infernal's gone. Just give it up.
Yeah, there is actually very little vision on the map as well for the side of Enclave. They've got a few defensive wards within their own jungle. But if you do look at Misfits, they're aggressively moving this ward line up. Now that the Infernal's down, now that the Dragon's not going to be a problem, and 50 seconds until this Baron Nash is starting to spawn up, I think this is now where Misfits step up their vision dance and they start to play around Baron.
Yes, you can see Haddo's recalled for wards, Monkey has moved in, and they're trying to get as much vision control as they can around the Baron while Misfits are resetting. They picked up Infernal, they went for a reset. This is the time where you want to look for as many sneaky wards as possible. You can put them in crucial little places where they're not going to get swept out, and that's when you know when the Baron's going to get used. 2 blue trinkets already available for Enclave. They know the threat now is if Misfits get this next Baron, it could be the end of the game and the series for them.
Oh, Rift actually 2 levels over Shikari. Just goes in with a hook shot and gets himself a Q down. Shikari actually is still struggling as Bendy could get locked up, but they're just turning around on a Prosper. He throws out the Glacial Fissure, and Aaron deletes him out. An explosive cast saves Chrisberg's life, and Rift still maybe looking for the re-engages. Actually, Misfits are turning it on. A flick goes in. That's the Vanguard's edge. In dies Leader. He's found one. He's going to give a second one over as Chrisberg. Killer Instincts forward, and it's a triple kill onto the Kaiser.
Prosper thought he could go very aggressive. He got turned around on by Enclave, but they committed too hard to the team fight. Leader came in and he was so strong. You have a 5-1 Aurelia, a 5-0 Kaiser, and this is Baron for Misfits.
Even TPing Shikari in to make sure this 100% is gifted over to the Misfits with a Baron Nashor at 20 minutes, with double Infernal Drake and a massive 6.4k gold lead over Enclave, are looking to push this game to the win.
Once again, Monkeys has no chance to steal the Baron when he is dead. Misfits, they've struggled throughout this series at times, but now they are looking dominant.
They have learned.
The
jungler is dead. He can't steal Baron.
Press tab. Is he unavailable? Okay, now we can Baron. But they managed to get the plays. They're playing effectively, and now things are really looking dire for Enclave. It's match point. We talked about the red side advantage. In the draft, they didn't really find what they needed in terms of counter pick, and now Misfits have got a massive lead in the Baron. And this could be the series.
One of the big things about this as well is Rift, you know, while he's been probably one of the strongest split pushes in this game, now that he's got to push into Shikari, who has himself a Baron wave to work with, it's going to be near impossible for him to take a tower until this Baron Nashor times out.
We'll just get a replay coming up. So you see, Prosper actually went really aggressive here and does get punished. This is great for Enclave. Now stop. This is when you should back out from the fight, especially when Monkeys miss the ult. You know that Aurelia is going to come down, but they overcommit, they stay for too long. Good ult from Afflict, buys more time, and then Leader comes in. A great ultimate connects with so many. Aaron tries to flash in and find the route, but isn't actually able to before getting stunned, and the Leader just has so much damage. And the problem is, you talk about how much damage Leader has, Chrisberg is untouched in this fight. The Killer Instinct means he can just clean up. It was a good move from Enclave to punish Prosper, but you have to know your limits. When you're 5k goal behind, you can't look for a team fight.
He's even got himself a Quicksilver Sash as well, so he's going to be even harder for Enclave to actually deal with. 2 items up, and this is going to be another engage. That's going to be a kill on a Chrisberg. He actually might just be gifted yet another double kill as Leader goes in with the Vanguard's edge. Aaron falls down as Prosper takes him out of a Winter's Wrath, and Chrisberg with the hat-trick once again.
And that is a 4 kill for Misfits. Not quite an ace. Rift is still available. I don't think he's going to be able to defend against 4 members of Misfits, especially when they're so fed. An 8-0 Kaiser, a 5-1 Aurelia. They're going to push for the end. They're going to take the game and the series with it.
Rift has to hook shot to go out, but actually they just turn around again. That's going to be the shutdown. It means squad. The Nexus is the focus. Bendy and Haddo have to make this work in their favor as they're looking to put the damage onto Prosper. The Nexus falls, and at 23 minutes, the Kings of the UK remain the Kings.
And I bet Enclave are so happy right now that they have that guaranteed spot for EU Masters because Misfits are back. They were the team who won last split. They had a lot of issues in the first 3 qualifying tournaments, but here they have shown they are a new team. They have brought a leader in, they have brought Zen in, and it has shown to work.
A cleaner game by the current Kings. Celtic, you've got to agree with me on that one.
Yes, I mean, this is the Hamlet story. The rightful king has returned. The Lion King, for those who, you know, want the simpler version of it.
I've just realized this makes your prediction right.
3-1.
Celtic Tiger did it.
To Misfits.
All bow down to Celtic Tiger.
On top of predicting every pick at the start of this game, man, this is a really fun series to watch, especially because I'm correct.
Part of me's a little sad it actually ended on such a stompy end. Like,
I mean,
it's so controlled, but
deserved.
That's great. Like growth from Misfits across the series. You know, they've had 3 extremely hard games, and then that last 4th game for them, they just looked a lot more comfortable. Nothing seemed to faze them, and the mentality of Misfits cannot be underestimated because they have shown time and time again their mentality is great. Let's bring up the damage so you can actually see how much Leader was actually hard carrying alongside with Chrisberg.
Sorry, I wanted to say the biggest adaptation over the course of the series was Chrisberg started stepping up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you saw in the bot lane when they picked the Morgana, they started punishing that really heavily. And then in this game, they go, okay, we don't even want to, you know, we've gotten a lot of things banned away from us. We go for the Kai'Sa into the Ashe and just shred the whole game long. Followed up with, of course, Leader's Aurelia, which you can't ignore at all. Was, of course, a massive factor, but seriously, massive adaptation from him. Leader's been consistently great. Chrisberg starting to get up there as well.
I mean, I think that was something that I talked about at the start of the series, is that these teams stylistically are very similar, and we said, yeah, they can try and head each other in the mid or top, but there is a potential you can throw a curveball, put a bit more pressure in the bot lane, and that might throw them off. And yes, it didn't come out at the start of the series, but it looks like later on, Misfits decided to realize, look, yes, we're struggling to find a clean lead in the games when Enclave are on red side, but what about bot lane? That's kind of being left just to, oh, farm lane, nothing's going to happen. And they went, actually, we're going to turn up the heat a bit.
And I'd actually like to note from Enclave, I think you need to be careful as Hado. I think Hado has been punished specifically with this. What they did was previously, okay, we can punish his Morgana. What happens if you pick something that shreds his tank picks? Because he ends up going forward as Alistar and he gets punished heavily in lane.
Insanely good series, I think, overall. I think we can all agree, everyone at home can even agree that, you know, Misfits versus Enclave, if you said that last season, you would not be going, that's a good game. That's going to be a great best of 5. But this season, massive growth from Enclave. And I think while they lost this series, they didn't actually lose anything. But for Misfits, what they gained is so much. They gained so much confidence going into the playoff stage.
And what I'd like to note as well is, you know, we saw how Misfits came up against even the likes of Excel and showed up hugely. Enclave, I think, even though they lost this series, in the middle of those games, there were a lot of decisions that showed that they've been improving as well.
I think they're a vastly improved team. I think
like their Wind and Rain series.
They've earned their place at the top of the UK in points. They still have to go through the actual finals because this is just the qualifying tournament. So there's still the grand finals to come up.
That's
and 8 teams, and this is when it really gets serious.
That's the thing, is that normally if you have a series like that, like last split when we had a great split and the grand finals to end the season, that was the one best of 5 we got. Now we've just finished this and it was such a great series, but it's not over. We still have the entire grand finals and that spot in the groups that EU Masters to play for, so there's only more going to come. And I feel like both of these teams and all the other teams we've seen so far this tournament are going to put so much work in to prepare for that. I mean, I'm excited.
I mean, you definitely know Excel went, okay, Misfits are back, we now need to beat them going forward to ensure we're in the EU Masters again. They were watching this series and they saw a lot of things going on. They probably saw a lot of things to exploit as well, but certainly they see two powerhouses fighting.
I mean, that's the thing, is that these teams have looked great. They have the confidence, but every team below them is looking up at them and going, this is what Misfits are, this is what Enclave are, this is what they're capable of, this is what we're aiming to be. And they've seen so much from them this series. They really have exposed a lot. Both teams have had very clear weaknesses. The early game for Misfits, the mid game for Enclave, and I think lots of teams are going to look at them and go, we can abuse that.
Yeah.
I think there's only one spot left at E-Masters. I know there's only one spot at E-Masters left. All of these teams have to look at both Enclave and Misfits if they want to go in with a chance. I think Excel, you know, maybe feeling a little bit comfortable going, okay, cool, if we can make our way through to actually get into the finals today, there was a chance that they could beat Enclave and they could lock themselves the first spot at E-Masters. Was unable to do that, sorry, but there's still one more tournament, one more playoffs for them to play, and then they can see exactly who's going to be actually the last team going forward.
I mean, that's the thing as well, is that we had a great performance coming out from XL from the last EU Masters. They actually went up against the total winners Origin, and although they didn't win that game against them in the group stages, they really brought it to them, and they might not make it there.
Scumbag Shigari, by the way. this was the pentakill, but he just decided to steal away last minute.
On the other side, we've talked a lot about how great XL did in EU Masters. It's worth noting that Misfits, up until they ended up getting beaten out, they had some really solid performance against international teams.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like, this game was actually insane. I'm glad to see that we're starting to see, first of all, more strategic, but certainly also more flashy plays coming out towards the end of the Forge Champions.
I mean, Katie, to your point, this bot lane who got 1v2'd by a Darius in Game 2 then went on to do so well later in the series. And again, even Monkeys, you see him miss that explosive cast there didn't look good in that game, then later on got way more consistent. It felt like...
I mean, he got a lot of Gragas practice.
Yeah, that's a big thing. But even though this series, it felt like players were improving individually, they were getting smarter, and they were learning a lot from the series. So although Enclave didn't win, I think they can take a lot away.
I mean, you have to look, this is a Misfits, just went 3-1, and they gave up a top inhib at like 18 minutes earlier in this series. There was a lot of very quick adaptation.
I also think there's a lot of like, every player on all teams, looked on both the teams playing, had a moment, at least in one of these 4 games, where they looked really good. I don't think there was one player who felt like a weakness on a team. You can argue, obviously, the Darius game, Rift was obviously the hard carrying, Shikari seemed like a weakness, but then on this GP game, he was one of the major strengths for his team.
Yeah. And even the likes of Hado, who I mentioned as having had a weaker series towards the end, in those early games, that Alistair was big in terms of the engage.
Absolutely, and I just think everyone had something that you can look at and go, right, I did that well, but then they have to look and go, right, I could do that better. And that's where they have to go from here. We have some time before the next round. Well, it's a week before the next round, but then they have quite a bit of time before the grand final.
Or they have to face off against each other again, potentially.
And you need to put the prep in, you need to put the work in, and it should show, because we've talked about how, yes, Misfits and Enclave looked really strong here. Yes, XL got beaten out by them earlier. Yes, Wind and Rain got beaten out by them in the semi-finals. But we've seen how much can change. With this finish from Misfits, we had a different team win every single qualifying tournament.
Yep. I'm really glad you bring that up as well.
They can't win the finals. Like, Diabolus won the first one and went downhill. There's no reason to suggest they couldn't have been working really hard from now. Yeah. They could resurface for the grand final. I mean, I think can't rule anything out.
I think every team has to respect every team in the finals, not in the finals, sorry, in this next stage of the tournament. Because like you said, Diabolus were the winners of the first tournament. Why can't they win the finals here? Why can't they go to EU Masters?
And certainly,
even though they're 5th currently, they're still very capable of doing that. Why can't XL do it as well? There's multiple teams. While Misfits look very good, Enclave are the only team who are guaranteed to go to EU Masters so far, and I think there are no further guarantees than that. I think everyone has to prove they're worth their salt in this next stage.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, if you end up as a team like this going, okay, we're focusing on who are currently the top 4, you could end up going out in quarters because you're not giving enough respect to your opponents.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, is that it is now the knockout stage when it gets to these playoffs. Obviously, with Forge Champions qualifiers, you would get knocked out if you lost, but then you say, okay, if we have the next tournament, we can get more points there. As long as you get the top 8, you know you're going to be going to those grand finals, the playoff stage. But now, once you're in them, you lose, you're gone. That's it. That's your EU Masters shot out the window, unless you're Enclave. But even then, they're not going to be happy with just that playing spot. It's very competitive this year, and I feel like that there are a lot of teams in those playing stage who are going to really be a challenge. You want to make that group stage guaranteed.
I also think a lot of these teams, like Diabolus, like XL, now that they've had a little bit more time to step back, I mean, Diabolus more so because they've had a week off now, where they've not been able to show what they're doing. They've probably been practicing their hearts out, and not because they've not had to play a show match this week. So they've been able to just make sure they hard work on scrimming, make sure they work on improvement, and shoring up their problems. Got to keep in mind, Diabolus still have Flaxish. And like, he's a guy who we heavily bigged up. So, I mean, let's just bring up the scoreboard so you guys can actually see the current standings. Enclave are still the 1st place seed coming out of all 4 of the qualifying tournaments. XL hot on the heels in that 2nd seed spot. Misfits Academy are locked into 3rd. Wind and Rain in 4th. Diabolus in 5th. M&M Gaming in 6th. Hyperion in 7th. And Barrage in 8th. These will be the 8 teams who will be playing up for that last spot at the EU Masters. I don't think there's one team you don't want to take seriously here.
Absolutely. I mean, anyone has been able to take anyone. And that's the thing, is that although we've had different teams win throughout the tournament, in the first Forge Champions qualifier, Enclave and XL got knocked out early. Misfits didn't do great. And now those 3 teams are at the top of our table. Things can go in so many different directions. Upsets are very real, and they have happened throughout this split. You can rule nothing out.
And I think also, you got to keep in mind, remember, M&M played really well in the first qualifying tournament. And they played very well in the 2nd. Yeah, exactly. So this... Still, it's like there's so many teams. Like, we're looking all the way at the bottom. We're saying they're still very capable of actually being a team that could make it to EU Masters.
Even in the earlier stages of this Forge Champions qualifier, Twitter randoms nearly knocked out XL. They're an Augurless team, and they nearly knocked out XL. They went 2-1 in the 2nd game. It was a close one, and that's a team who are from the qualifying tournament, and they nearly did that. And the thing is, if that happens in the playoffs, and a big team gets knocked out by small, that's it. That's your dreams over for this split.
And it's all looking forward with things like that. There's been a lot of teams who've had shakier games in the past. They're now looking forward. They're looking to that playoffs. And as you said, talking about Diabolus, but certainly with every team, New strategies, it's now the time. If you haven't been having the best success, bring them out. Now's when we want to see them.
Well, we do want to hear from you what you guys think of this whole tournament and where you think everyone's going to be placing going towards those grand finals. You can follow us and tweet to us at LVPUK over on Twitter and use the hashtag ForgeChampions4. I know it's over now, but we'll still read your tweets. Don't worry, post them up there and let us know who you think is actually going to take the whole finals. And if you're still new, if this is, you know, the first qualifying tournament you've watched, you can watch all of the other VODs over on the YouTube channel, which is also LVPUK, where all the VODs from the previous qualifying tournaments have been uploaded. Plus, I believe, a few highlight videos and a couple of other fruity and spicy things coming up.
Things coming in. I'm looking forward to them.
Yeah, me too.
They're all there.
And just keep tuned, because again, this is the last qualifying tournament, well, the scoring stage, but
now it's knockouts. Now it's knockouts.
Now it gets
even
big. More hyped. If you thought this was hyped, you ain't ready for anything yet.
I don't know if I can handle around like 8 teams all playing as hypers that we've just had. I might actually keel over and die before the finals.
Well, you gotta last until the finals, and then you can keel over and die after that.
That's all I am to you, just a play-by-play. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Obviously, you can join us next week for the finals as we start up that run towards the grand finals live here in Barcelona. That'll be over on the 5th and 6th of September, so make sure you tune in for that. But until next week, we will see you. Thank you very much.
Bye.